Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy adaptation games, and may the odds be ever in your favor. I'm Kels.
And I'm not happy, but I'm also Ash.
And we are the Adaptation Games, a Hunger Games podcast where we break down the Hunger Games films beat by beat and analyze them along with the book to understand themes, characters, and to determine just how good an adaptation these movies are. It was not easy to do that intro. I had to hype myself up for a minute there. Not excited.
Yeah, I think
Not excited at all.
just hot suggestion. Let's skip this episode. Yeah, part 2 starts now.
Yeah. Part 3. We would finish part 2.
Part
just
3.
skip
Sorry,
right
yes.
over it. Can you believe that we're already here? It feels like it took us so long to get through part 1, and now we're at the end of part 2.
I know. We're also recording these relatively back to back to back, so it feels extra fast.
Oh my god, yeah. It's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we can skip this one. There's nothing interesting about these 2 chapters or about this like 10-ish minutes of the movie. So
nothing that made me cry at all.
Yeah, let's just go straight to the star-crossed lovers.
I wish. And then Rue would still be here in our minds and our hearts.
Yeah.
She still is, but
always.
Yeah. It's saddest episode of the book and the movie. Like, I don't think there's anything sadder.
Yeah, by like 300
I don't
miles.
think there's anything sadder in the whole trilogy, if I'm being honest. Like, because when Prim dies, it's like a whole other thing where there's so much shock around what's happening. But with Rue, it's kind of like, it sucks because you also knew that this had to happen. Like, it was inevitable in a way. And so it's like so much harder.
Yeah, maybe Finnick, but just because like the implications of like, oh, now Annie's all alone. But this is the worst. I mean, it also kicks off the whole rebellion. So.
But also just the fact that we get to sit with Katniss, because like when all those deaths are happening in like Mockingjay and stuff, it's when they're happening in Mockingjay, it's kind of happening so quickly. Like, we really get to live in this moment here with Katniss in both the film and in the book in different ways, which I think is interesting. I'm excited to talk about the differences, and how those translate, because we're in a film format versus in a book format.
Yeah.
But yeah, you live in it for so long. Like, you really live in Katniss's pain for a really long time with it. So.
Do we have to?
I know, I was going to say, so if you're ready, I don't know that I'm ready.
we must do what must be done.
So we left off on the slow motion apples.
Yes.
Falling out of their netting after Katniss. We had all these close-ups of the shots of her shooting the bow and arrows, and the apples finally fall, and the explosion is pretty immediate, and it's huge. Like, for the mines that were under there, you're like, wow, that's pretty big. It blows up the whole huge supply, and it throws Katniss back. And she immediately lands hard on her back. My favorite little trivia piece about this is, I'm pretty sure it was J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence, who, when they were filming this, like, a bunch of people were excited to watch the explosion happen, and she like looked down at her phone when she was on set, and she missed it. So it's one of those ones that you only do once, right? So she was like, damn it.
Well.
Yep. So that's our one bit of levity here in this dark episode.
Hold on to it.
But yeah, so that happens. Katniss gets thrown back. It immediately has the ringing sound in her ears, right? And because we won't get all of the ear stuff in the movie, they're just going to kind of gloss over it. Her ear will be injured. You'll see like blood on that side of her face and everything. And it's the appropriate side of her face, I should say. It's on the left, I think. And we can't hear, though. So we at least know that, man, that really certainly rung her ears, even if we don't know that she's going to lose hearing permanently from this, because I'm pretty sure it's permanent.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was going to say, like in the books, it's very clear that I think she's permanently for the rest of the series and forever deaf in her left ear. Because the Capitol also picks and chooses what they want to heal and fix. And the deaf ear is not visible. So they're like, ah.
Yeah.
But in the book, it's so important. I really wish they could have figured out how to translate that to the movie.
Yeah.
Because she kind of picks up and goes, and we immediately get into the Rue stuff. Whereas in the book, she like hangs out in a bush a whole night because she can't
Oh yeah.
hear for a whole night.
Yeah. And like it's the fact that I think what it would have been easier if then maybe we just don't hear as well for the rest of the film, but it's like it's only one ear because she starts hearing out of her right ear again. So that's what makes it hard, I think, to be like, how
Yeah.
do you portray that without her just narrating it? um, but basically, she can't hear. We can't hear in this moment, at least. And so Kato comes running back in, right? And you see the guard kid is like, what? What is going on? Foxface had just run off and he had kind of seen her. But Kato comes back up and we can sort of hear him being like, what the hell happened? And then he snaps the kid's neck. I love that Katniss is just out in the open here.
Yeah.
Could easily be spotted, but they don't
She's just
spot her, luckily.
wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, can't hear,
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
like, whoa, oh, he just snapped that kid's neck.
Yep. And then she like manages to stumble to her feet and run off. Because in the book, she's like, "Oh, I'm pretty well hidden, so they can't see me." But like in the movie, she's like literally just out there in the open.
Yeah, in the book, she like crawls into a bush and then just lays there and is like, "Well,
Yep.
hope this is good."
Yeah. But she gets to her feet and she's running. And part of the reason that they're not chasing her is, at least in the book, they don't immediately try and go out into the woods because they know that like, oh, it was probably like the booby trap went off, but it just happened to destroy all of our supplies as well. So it was, they blame the District 3 boys, which is why Kato kills him, essentially.
Yeah, and they also potentially think that someone died in the explosion. The person that set it off died in the
Right.
explosion.
Yeah.
Because you can't hear the cannon over the many explosions. Because in the book, there's several following explosions that just kind of go off.
Yeah.
So it's hard to hear a cannon.
Yeah. And so they're like, we'll wait until night. And then, yeah, there's a whole bunch of time that's going to pass, which is interesting. Like Katniss hunts and fishes and like does all this other stuff as she's recovering. But here we get her, she's running away. She's stumbling through the woods. The ambient noise cuts back in for us as the viewer, right? So we get these shots of her and we can hear her footsteps as she's running away. And then she stops, and I love the shot of her where she's like standing in the woods and she is so tiny because it's the super wide shot as she's whistling to the Mockingjays. Like she's really deep into those woods is what they're trying to show, I think. But she's listening for Rue's signal back because they had the two different 4-note signals. And like we don't hear it, right? But we do as Katniss continues to walk around and sees that the third fire is not lit. We do hear Rue screaming. So they're like, yeah, we're cutting out all of this other stuff on the in-between because we gotta go.
Yeah, there's in the book, Katniss takes like a full 24 hours before she actually like looks for Rue.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is crazy. Poor
Crazy.
Rue.
I know.
She
Well, actually, I think it's almost
so
48 because she blows up the food, she lays under the tree, spends a night there, and then she spends another night up in the tree.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought too. I was like, is it actually 2 full days?
I think it's like it's 2 nights.
Yeah. That is such a long time for them to be separated, and for like who knows? Like did Rue, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
Like how long has she been in the net? We have no idea.
Katniss seems a little less concerned than I was hoping.
Yeah. Well, the thing about this whole movie portrayal is she's going to be a lot more emotional than Katniss in the book, which both kills me and I love. But yeah, because when Rue is screaming like Katniss help and she sprints and we see Rue trapped under the net, it's crazy because in the book she just dies immediately. Because she's still trapped and Marvel stabs her with the spear immediately while she's still in the net, so before Katniss can even get to her. But instead, heartbreakingly, what we get is that Katniss manages to run up to her, cut her free, and then hug her So like the fact that she untangles her, we're back to like a lot of quick cuts, shaky cam. Katniss is freaked out. Nothing is stable, right? And she hugs her while staying on her knees, reassuring her like, "You're okay. See, it's okay." And I'm pretty sure this is pretty much what she says to Prim at the beginning of the movie when she wakes up from her nightmare.
Um,
So
yeah.
even more heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, in the book, Katniss is constantly accidentally calling Rue Prim.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But
Constantly.
we don't have to have her say it here or because we can't hear her thinking it because we already have all these other connections. Because they already established that in like the opening moments of the film, which it's crazy that feels like so long ago for us, but
I know.
but it's so sad because then she's saying like, "You're okay, you're fine, it's okay." And you see that Rue looks up and she looks so scared over her shoulder, and Katniss immediately sees that, and so she flips around to see what it is, but her bow is on the ground because she had taken her knife to try and free Rue. So she picks it up. You see Marvel throw the spear. I'm pretty sure you can hear it hit Rue in the background, and then Katniss shoots him. That's a little less graphic than in the book, and I can understand why, because shooting him in the neck and then having him drown in his own blood probably would have been a bit much for the PG-13 film version they were going for. Um, but definitely more traumatic. So,
Oh, the series.
yeah, I know. But it's so good. I love the way that they end up doing these shot compositions here, where it is like, we're essentially looking over Katniss's shoulder as she kills Marvel. We don't see where his spear hits, and then even when we are like turning back to see what happened exactly, like you can see Katniss turns, and even before she sees Rue, you can tell she's thinking like, "Oh, that went right past me," and Rue is like literally right behind me. And we get, the shot of Rue's face before we finally get a wider shot to see that she's pulling the spear out of her stomach. Um, and as she's doing that, there's blood immediately like on her shirt. We won't see a lot more blood than that, but at least it's there, um, which is more than I can say for other movies recently. And she immediately starts to go down, and Katniss is still on her knees, catches her. She's not standing at all during this, which I just think is so interesting because it keeps her on Rue's level for like the whole thing. Um, and she slowly is like laying her down in the field. And she's like hovering, her hands are hovering over her. In the book, she thinks like immediately, like, this is beyond probably anybody's ability to help at this point. Like, it was so deep. And in the book, she doesn't take out the spear because it's like so deeply embedded into her, like all the way up to the shaft, that she just doesn't even bother to pull it out of Rue. So it's like almost even sadder that Rue in the movie pulls it out herself.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little it is very movie magic-y to have Rue still like standing after she gets the sphere stuck in her. I feel like that usually has
Yeah,
like a lot of force. So it feels a little goofy, and then the actual like implications slam in and you're like, "Oh
yeah. It's called adrenaline, I guess.
no."
She was pumping with it when Katniss came to save her. So
She tanked it.
yeah,
But yeah, I
but
do like how she kind of like lays her on her knee in this moment. Um,
yeah,
it's very sweet. And we
yeah,
get a lot of Rue's point of view in this next sequence, which is really
yeah.
interesting.
And I love how they choose to show it because they're like they really want you to feel the impact of her life ending without it necessarily being like so brutal on screen, you know? Because when we cut back, immediately Katniss's breathing is like she's gasping for air as she's like over Rue. And then when Rue's looking up at her and she just has like the single tear that comes out of her eye, and you're like, oh no, oh god. And she's doing the "you're okay, it's okay, you're okay," over again, except now this time it's much shakier. And in the book, she's like, "There's no point. I don't even bother reassuring her." But it's like Katniss in this moment in the movie is just so caught up. I mean, she's not thinking about logistics of literally anything. All she can see is a little girl dying in her arms.
Yeah.
And so she's doing everything she can to make that easier for Rue, which, oh my God.
Yeah,
Because
it's
she's
so
just such a big
sweet.
sister?
She is. Yeah, you can really like, yes, Rue had about 3 seconds of actual screen time with Katniss. But it's just sold so well that
Yeah.
the audience is predisposed to adore Rue, of course. So they don't really have to do like a lot extra here. I like how much it focuses on Rue, and how much I love that she has this moment where she says, "You have to win. You have to win." And so
Yeah.
it's Prim all over again, but this time it's like, at least in the book, like this lights a fire Katniss has never had before. Like literally the fire of rebellion. Like I
Yeah.
will win for as revenge for this.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
yeah,
trying to see. I wrote down the quote where she says it specifically, but that's essentially what she says is like somehow this becomes more important to me than the vow that I made to Prim because like again, we I think we quoted it earlier last in one of the episodes recently where she's thinking to herself like Rue doesn't have anybody. Like Prim has people who will take care of her at home, but this was it. And so like this is to like what she can't even process it, right? Except for knowing that like she has to be there for her. And so I think emotionally, like Jennifer Lawrence sells it so well of just like it's about Rue in the moment. It's not about what's happening next, how many tributes are left. It's not about, can I take her stuff now? Like, do I have to get my arrow? Like, all this other stuff that she ends up thinking about in the book after Rue dies. Like, none of that is movie Katniss gonna even consider. She does not
yeah,
care.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the differences are, I mean, pretty vast.
Yeah.
Both medium-wise, but also just Katniss is kind of very different in the book and the movie. They're almost two different
Yeah.
characters in this moment.
Yeah. And we've been seeing a lot of that. Katniss is just more vulnerable in the movies than she is in the book because you need her to be because we're not in her head. So we can't tell what she would be thinking otherwise. So you have to
Yeah,
Jennifer Lawrence really has to sell all of that vulnerability in order for us to buy all of these moments when we're not in her head specifically, right? So like in this moment when we get the can you sing um we don't get a long thing about music and about her dad and all this other stuff because we've already established that. We've been establishing that all movie, right? We get the song at the very beginning with Prim, so we don't need an explanation of what is the song that she's going to sing or can she sing or any of this other stuff, right? All we know is that Rue asked her to sing. Both of them have a single tear going down their face when Rue says it, when she begs for it. And then we get that this is when we really start getting the shots from Rue's point of view, where Katniss starts singing to her, and she looks past Katniss up into the trees, and it's really starting to like fade out into the white. And especially because now that when I was watching this again, and we've talked about it, we were getting those shots when Katniss was entering the arena of like entering a white light, right? And so now it's her. The white light is coming for Rue instead. Moment which is just oh my gosh, it's so sad. But I love that the sound fades out while this is happening, right? So we're getting the shot from her point of view, and it's all fading to white instead of fading to black. I don't know what you would call that in the opposite direction then, because it's not really fading. But as that's happening, Katniss's voice is slowly getting softer and softer, almost as if Rue can no longer hear her, right? And then the score starts to kick in here once she starts singing, and then the score will take over. And I kind of like that we don't get to hear all the lyrics from the Meadow song ever. Um, I don't. I do think she sings a full version of it on the soundtrack. I can't remember if
Oh,
she sings
okay.
a full version of it or not. Now I'll have to check if it's the Meadow song or if it's a different one. But it's it's kind of like those lyrics are only meant for Rue to hear once she is gone. And I love that about us not hearing the whole song. Because she continues to sing in the book after Rue dies until
Yeah.
she finishes the song.
Yeah, I don't know why, as a, you know, in high school, I just remember the song being a lot longer. That was my kind of main takeaway. I was like, "Oh, I remember the song being longer," but I think it's because I also recently, quote unquote, in the last few years, listened to the audiobook, which if you had not listened to Tatiana Maslany's
Yeah.
audiobooks, Oh, this scene is devastating.
Yeah.
I was listening to this on a hike and I was weeping,
Yeah.
weeping in the woods.
And it's like crazy too because she's not just like crying when she's speaking as Katniss, like she's crying as she's like narrating as Katniss. And oh God, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would have wanted if we got her singing longer instead of us kicking into the score is the Mockingjays then pick up the song.
That
And
is missing, which is so sad.
yeah, yeah. This is where the Mockingjays are like really heavily prevalent in the movie in a way that I can understand why they're not really anymore, right? Because we didn't get the whole thing about Mockingjays from Rue. If we had gotten maybe some of that conversation with her, it would have made more sense. But because we
We got the
didn't,
mock
we aren't.
we got the
Well, like
Mockingjays from Rue.
she talks about it even more in the book, right? She talks about
Oh
how like,
yes.
oh, some of them are really my friends and like um that's music is my favorite thing ever because I like sing with the Mockingjays when I'm out in the fields and like we don't get all of that additional context,
Yeah.
right? Um and if we had, then maybe we would have gotten a little bit more. But because we'll get to it, but like when she says, yeah, she's safe now to the Mockingjay that like gives the little 4 note. Oh my God, that would have killed me if it was in the movie.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
Oh. I mean, I wish,
it's
but oh.
it's already devastating. I mean, and it Jennifer Lawrence is so good in this, but Amanda Stenberg was also they were just so good in this moment of just like she's scared, she's accepting it, she's, like not in any pain because like Katniss is there comforting her. I'm sure there's pain. I'm sure it's all adrenaline though. But you know, Katniss in the book like then takes her backpack and like because she's like I know Rue would want me to have this and it's like that's probably true, but I don't think that's going to play well in the film version, right? And so what you
No.
have instead is this is the scene that always gets me. It makes me cry every time I watch the movie. But when, you know, she closes Rue's eyes and then she's just looking around. And Jennifer Lawrence's crying face, I think, is one of the best crying faces in Hollywood because it's so unapologetically a crying face. Like,
Yeah.
kind of ugly, like, not trying to make it look pretty at all. And so she is like looking around desperately, like she's like gasping for air, and the score is really starting to kick in now. We're like really getting like, kind of like a funeral march almost, like, or a funeral sounding song, like a very pretty, almost like, I don't even know what the string is. At first, I thought it even sounded almost like an organ, but
Oh.
um, yeah, it like changes it up and it's more like string heavy. But she's like so lost. She doesn't know what to do. She's just saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She kisses her on the forehead. She's like zipping up the coat so that she doesn't have to see the injury. Um, but when she is like shaking in rage and grief and is like looking around and she finds the spear and she picks it up and she hurls it and then she screams, it's so good because only the score is playing. We don't get to
Yeah.
hear her scream. It's like almost like we're giving her a little bit of privacy in that moment to scream it out. And it now, because we just recently both saw it, Supergirl, in that moment when she like screams into space, like that's kind of what it makes me think of now.
I was gonna say,
Um,
yeah, we're not us as viewers is not even privy to this moment, which I think is
right.
a good choice.
Yeah. And she just is like sobbing into her hands, right? And it is every time her emotion in the scene gets me every time, but it's really that specific moment where she's like, I can't believe I just lost her, basically. Even though she knew. And we all knew she knew. And we all knew. And Rue knew. Like everybody knew. Everybody was prepared. And it still is somehow the most devastating thing that's happening, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so like outside of context, it's like Rue gets stabbed by the spear and then is immediately like, you gotta win. Like that is uh Rue knew as soon as she entered the arena, she probably wasn't getting out.
Yeah,
But so when the spear hits, she's like not surprised.
right. Ugh. She's only 12. It just makes me
Only
so sad.
12. It's so interesting too, because again, she's the oldest of a pretty large family.
Yeah,
So she could in the future like become like Katniss. Like
Oh,
she
absolutely.
would be someone that would volunteer for her siblings.
Yeah. Oh, 100% she would have. And like she clearly had the skills to be as good as Katniss one day, just in a different realm, right?
Yeah, and just too young.
And just too young. Like Katniss at 12 wouldn't have won, you know?
No.
Um, and then, it cuts from this scene of her like sobbing over Rue's body to her standing with a knife in her hand, something meant for violence, but also the thing that she used to free Rue from the trap. And it shows her gathering up the flowers. So I looked it up because I was curious, and of course, Reddit had me immediately. So shout out Reddit. These are Queen Anne's lace, which is, just like almost like a baby's breath type of flower. But they symbolize safety, refuge, and sanctuary. I know.
I don't
I
need to know
know.
that.
And then somebody pointed out that they're also known as wild carrots. They're actually edible. It is an entire
Oh,
meadow of edible plants that is right there. And so she's basically and essentially covering Rue in food.
which is Katniss's primary source of everything.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that
Yeah.
we're going to cover just after this, in the movie, wildly changes. We get a bunch of different things. In the book, Katniss is just getting food.
Yeah. A lot of food.
She's everything's about food. So
Yeah.
that's so nice. That's so good.
So good. Ugh.
Good job, production.
Good job, production. Love it. But yeah, it shows her marching back with the handfuls of white flowers. We get the close-ups of her injured hands as she's like very gently, very carefully placing the flowers all over her body, and then when she's giving her the bouquet to also hold in her hands, she leans over, kisses her on the forehead, and then like looks up into like the movie camera essentially because she's looking for a camera in the arena because she knows that they're there, right? And the music, this is like the full swelling into the full score of this moment. Um, and then she walks away and she turns deliberately looking for a camera again, and she gives the three fingered salute, which is brilliant. Brilliantly done. It matches the book, but it's just like I think it's shot so well.
Yeah, it's a nice chance because in the book she can never see where the cameras are. She can't figure it out. Um, but
Right.
in the book, this moment's so fascinating because it she refers back to her conversation with PETA, and she says she
Okay.
finally understands it because now she sees like there's the kid Marvel is lying there, not choking on his own blood, um,
Yeah. He's
and
just
she's
dead.
like, yeah, he's just dead. And she looks at him and he's like, he looks defenseless. And
Oh my
here's
god,
Rue and
yeah.
she looks defenseless. And so now she's like, oh, it's the capital. Like it finally clicks for Katniss. And she's known this her whole life. She's not, it's pretty obvious. But she's like, oh, the capital is the problem. And this is when this is her like rebellion is turned on. Before
Yeah.
it was like her kind of just like speaking out and like hitting the system. But now it's like, oh, I understand.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like in the movie, right? We talked about the scene with PETA where she already kind of understands what he's saying, but she's like, I just can't go there because I have Prim, but I understand, right? And so, but in the book, it's like I'm gonna read it because I think it's so good. I remember
And
PETA's words on the roof, and for the first time, I understand what he means. I want to do something right here, right now, to shame them, to make them accountable, to show the Capitol that whatever they do or force us to do, there's a part of every tribute they can't own. That Rue is more than a piece in their games, and so am I. And it's like that's finally the moment that she gets it. And I love though that in the movie it's like she got it, but this is also now the first time that she's like, this is bigger than me and Prim. This is bigger than Prim surviving, like me going back home to Prim.
yeah,
This is about all of us, um, for like the first time, right?
yeah.
All of us that
And
are here in this moment.
they cover that by just having her look straight into a camera.
Yeah.
In the book,
Because
she
she
just
is
does it
thinking,
towards Rue.
yeah, she does it towards Rue, but she is thinking like, I hope they show this moment, and even if they aren't, it won't matter because when they cut back to her, because they always cut back to the bodies being picked up, they will have to see what I did, even if they didn't watch the whole thing, which is so relevant to Sunrise on the Reaping because this is one moment that they can't cover up. right? And so, because she's correct, this is not something they're going to cut away from. We're going to see in a second here that they don't bother to cut away from it. They do show the whole thing, which is a whole other thing from love that for you, Seneca. But that but like I could believe that in the book version maybe they don't show the whole thing, but what they do show is her body being taken away covered in the flowers, because I could see that happening in the book. But in the movie
Yeah,
version, you're like, no, this makes perfect sense. Seneca's like, this is good. This is
this
good
is
TV, you
great.
guys.
This is
Yeah.
great TV.
Yeah. And so it's so good. Yeah, you mentioned that they show Marvel laying there also dead, and he also just looks so vulnerable in the meadow, you know, as also just another victim of the games,
Yeah,
which I love. And then the one thing we don't get, which is her 4-note song being sung by the Mockingjay and the good and safe, I say as I pass under its branch. We don't have to worry about her now. Good and safe.
because it is unfortunately the only way to like. It's better to die in the games, and
Yeah.
preferably quickly, and with a friend,
Yeah.
because you survive the games. Life just got a whole lot worse.
Yeah. But when she does the three-fingered salute in the movie, what I love is that we don't even see her finish doing it in movie camera. It cuts to her on broadcast camera on the big screen at District 11's town square. This is the only other time we will get a location text. In the movie, we got one for District 12 when we first went to District 12. We now get it when we're here in District 11. And it cuts to a huge screen, a multi view of Katniss in 3 different angles doing the salute. And immediately, everybody in the town square is doing it back. Immediately. Um, and I love that we get several cuts before the rioting starts of just cutting around to these people that are also paying their respects and are clearly respecting the fact that Katniss also just did this, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a little peaceful. The I should have looked it up. I meant to look it up. I'm sure this is like Rue's funeral or Rue's death song, right? But I can't remember the name of it. And it's still playing in the background. And then this is when a man starts shoving his way through the crowd to shove up against a peacekeeper. And this is when the spontaneous riots begin in District 11. And again, this scene alone justifies making the film version for me.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's also, I love how unsubtle it is. Like, oh, we're they're going right after the grain, obviously, because they can't eat it. So they
Yeah.
go right after the grain. They start lighting everything on fire. Who marches in? A bunch of riot police, and guess what they're doing? Spraying down protesters
Mm-hmm.
with the fire hoses. This is
Yeah.
not a subtle scene.
No, not even a little bit. And
No.
who starts it? A black man, which I think is. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people who are like, oh, that has to be Rue's dad. Or there's like people who believe it could be Rue's dad. I like to think that maybe he wasn't even around at this point, or if he was watching with his family somewhere because he's just a random guy. I kind of like the idea that it is just a random citizen of District 11, that it didn't even need to be anybody that knew Rue specifically. Um, for Katniss to have brought so much meaning to inspire them to spontaneously riot, right? Because if it wasn't
Yeah.
him, it would have been somebody else. So I don't necessarily dislike the idea because then later in Catching Fire, we will see that it's just her mother up there on the pedestal. She doesn't have a father there. Um, so like he could have been killed after this for starting the riots. But yeah, I think I like both versions. I think it doesn't really matter either way.
Yeah, I like both as well. Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's also uh it makes sense that Rue's death is what starts this. Just looking at history and what we're referencing, like you look at um not necessarily deaths, but like Ruby Bridges, and that, sort of iconic going to school image.
Yeah.
A lot of like boundaries in the civil rights movement were pushed specifically by young black women.
Yeah. And also specifically in the South, which is
Yes.
obviously where District 11 is. It also really brings to mind things like, the Black Lives Matter movement and after George Floyd, like the rioting there. And obviously, there are all kinds of riots that have happened in the States over racial injustice and things like that, or protesting as well, but also specifically riots like this, where it's it's well done in the way that they don't subtly show it, right? They're like, this is very similar to a lot of those scenes in the way that things are now on fire and all this other stuff, bringing out the fire hoses, bringing out the riot gear. Uh, like, there's so much imagery from protest scenes like that match that exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I also think that it's really well done because you can see as they're doing a lot of these fast cuts to a lot of different things that are happening, like when they're shoving over the giant crate, like all of them are working together to do that. You can see that it's starting to get darker progressively as we're getting a lot of these shots. So it's like pretty sunny out when Rue's death happens and the riots begin. We then see it's closer to dusk at some point where it's not quite dark out, but it is darker out. And then later on when the hovercraft comes in and the riot police come in, it is like pitch black. So like these riots have not just been happening like for a short amount of time. It's not like they were able to suppress it quickly, right? Like they had to bring in reinforcements. It's been happening at minimum all day, like
Yeah.
all day. Um, if not multiple days. We don't know at this point how long it's been going on, right? Because when we later see Haymitch talking to Seneca, he alludes to the idea that there's been multiple riots because we see that they're only in Zone B when we're shown this
Oh,
portion of District 11 rioting. So I think even more interestingly that they were able to capture that so well as just like a really subtle nod to how long it's taking.
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we cut from this rather violent scene to I think
To
just like
Seneca walking down the
Seneca.
stairs. The score swells from Rue's funeral song to a really ominous sound when the riot police comes in, and then it swells and ends pretty abruptly when Seneca is walking down those stairs.
Yeah. But they keep the riot noises going, I believe.
Yes.
Um, and because apparently they have a video feed into District 11 in this control room.
I'm sure that they hear about it and then they're immediately like routing it, being like, look what happened because of this. I'm sure. Yep. um but yeah, I like the fact that the sounds continue on in the background. Um and then it's him like looking around and he looks pretty nervous as he's looking around the control room. He's like, okay, maybe showing that funeral was not the right choice. Maybe I should have
Made for
thought that through.
amazing TV.
Amazing TV. Oh my God. I could only imagine if I was a capital citizen.
Yeah. Because these games have been, again, pretty boring.
Yeah. Overall, yeah, nothing exciting has been happening so far. Um, but yeah, in the book, obviously, we don't get any of this because instead, what we get is that she goes and she's like gathering her supplies and everything, but she's settling down for the night and she gets a sponsor gift that comes floating down and she's like, is this from Haymitch? Is it for my hearing? Like, what is it? And she opens it and it's a piece of bread. And then she realizes, thanks to PETA, that it must have been from District 11. The most heartbreaking thing is that she realizes that they must have been saving up this money so they could maybe send it to Rue if she continued further into the games. But then instead of saying, oh, don't send it, they had to have given Haymitch permission to send it to her instead. Ugh, so good.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Because as a reminder, like, Rue was their canary. She was jumping through the trees, she was singing. She was kind of their, like, s s like, spirit guide or whatever, like, she brought the good vibes.
Yeah, I like the line where she says, because of course Katniss has to go here first because she can't think that anybody just thinks she's a good person or whatever. She says, or because, like me, they don't like to let debts go unpaid. For whatever reason, this is a first, a district gift to a tribute who is not your own. She has to like justify it because she's like, why? It must be the reason I would do it. Don't let debts go unpaid. Like, and it's like, no.
Katniss.
Like maybe partially that, but more in a thank you sort of way than just
Yeah.
repaying a debt sort of way.
It's
Um
it's a it's a debt for taking care of Rue.
Yeah.
but
But
like not really.
yeah, it's more heartfelt than she wants to admit, right? But we get that shot of Seneca, and it hard cuts to Katniss sitting against a log, sobbing. Oh my gosh. She's holding her head. It's the kind of sobbing where you're like, oh my god, it looks like it's so painful. Like whatever you're going through is so painful. Like her whole body is in it. And she looks at her hands and she starts scrubbing at them harshly. My only thing about this is she doesn't have any blood on her hands. And so I could
Yeah,
see
it's
it
just the
metaphorically being that she has both marble and bruised blood on her hands. She has all of the scabs there, though, so it could also be like a pain thing. I don't know. But she doesn't actually have any blood, any bruised bloods on her hands when she's trying to like literally scrub it all off of her. Um, so I think it's an interesting choice, whether that's a thematic choice or not.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but they're going to use this trick a couple of times where we start to get a voiceover of something else happening before we cut over to it. So we hear Haymitch's voice over Katniss while she's having this breakdown saying, "Don't kill her, you'll just create a martyr." And we get this cut. I think it's so interesting that the cut we get over is um it's like a shot over Seneca's shoulder of like a security guy in the background. First, we're on a close up essentially
Oh,
of
yeah.
this random security man. And then we pull out to the wider shot where we see that it's Seneca and Haymitch who are talking. Um, and he's basically saying, like, I hear these rumors out of District 11, and you have a lot of anger out there. I know you know how to handle a riot. You've done it before. Interesting. Also interesting because he's clearly communicating with, you know, um, Rue's mentors and things like that. The other ones from District 11, more than just about Rue, right? And Seneca, I think it's so interesting the way that they shoot this. Seneca is so still, and Haymitch is just moving so much body movement because he's desperate to make this work. He's like, it has to work, like it just has to work, and he's using his hands a lot. And
Yeah.
Seneca is just standing there, which I love. But he says, if you can't scare them, give them something to root for. And Woody Harrelson's voice here is so good. Like I wasn't really watching the screen when he was saying this, but you can just tell that he's kind of like trying to think of what to say on the fly. Like this is not like
Yeah.
he's had a ton of time to prepare this argument. He's been thinking about it for a long time. He's like, I got to give him something, and I need it to be anything to save Katniss, anything, right? So it's like just his voice is so good in that moment, even if you're like not watching him on screen. Um, go ahead.
Yeah, it's so interesting that he mentions like, "Oh, you've done it before." I am under the impression, at least movie-wise, that Seneca only does games. He's just a game maker. So, like, when he's talking to Snow, Snow thinks that Seneca is thinking like him because Snow started as a game maker, but
Mm-hmm.
Seneca's just thinking, "What is good TV?" So he's gonna miss a lot of what Snow's saying. But this implies that, oh, maybe like Seneca did get involved in like actually politics, which you probably have to as a game maker, but this sounds like he was almost an enforcer at one point.
Yeah, I always took it as like this can't be the first time a district has rebelled over the fact that one of their tributes died.
That's
Right.
true.
Like maybe not to a scale this large, maybe, but to something where it is disturbances for sure. That then maybe what do they do? Maybe they punish the tribute that's the other tribute that's then in the arena. Or that's kind of how I was picturing it. Like he's still using TV in a way to suppress this because he's like, well, instead of, trying to scare them like we have in the past, maybe implying that they then did things to other tributes to then scare the district, right? Um, but like young love is what he says as he looks up when Seneca seems to be considering it, like he's thanking God that Seneca is actually listening to him. It's so good.
He's like, finally a word came out of my mouth that meant something, like that
Yeah,
hit.
yeah. And then they use the same trick again where we hear Snow before we cut to him. So you like an underdog. And this time he's standing admiring his roses. He's in much more formal wear than the last time we saw him when he was being very vulnerable. A suit without the coat on, but he's still wearing the vest. And I love this conversation that they're going to have here, him and Seneca, because again, it's just going back to Seneca doesn't really get it.
No, they're having two wildly different conversations. Seneca before thought he understood what Snow was talking about. Here, Seneca has no clue. He's like, this
Yeah,
man is just talking, and these words don't make sense to me.
right. Because he's like, yeah, everyone loves an underdog, and Snow's like, I don't. And this is the conversation I think we talked about a little bit for the first Rose Garden scene, but this is the one where he's like, have you been out there? 10, 11, 12? And he's like, there's lots of underdogs, lots of coal. This is like, we need them. And I love that he's saying this, like listing off all the resources as he's like wiping off his hands from having been dealing with his roses and things like that. And he has yet to turn around to actually look at Seneca while he's talking to him. Until like he's saying, I think if you could see them, you wouldn't root for them either. And then that's when he's gonna like turn around and look at him while he's saying that. And I love the little pause he gives before he says, I like you. Be careful. And then he will cover Seneca in the shot to exit on the other side of the frame, which I think is like perfect, like just totally overpowering him in the scene before he leaves. And the birds are singing loudly in the background, and Seneca is just looking confused and a little terrified.
Yeah, I think Seneca knows, oh, I'm I'm in maybe die territory.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It's so good. You get so much out of just such a small conversation, and I'm like, this. We've been talking a lot about Sunrise, right? But this conversation is all Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is everything that he learned in that book when he was at District 12, right? That has essentially formed the core of who he is now as the leader of the capital.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like prequels in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to kind of also I only read Songbird once and only watched the movie for Ballad. Um but I do love how much this conversation ties into the whole thesis of Songbird essentially.
Yeah,
Um this is Snow to his core, no matter what.
yeah. It's it's something that you won't be able to change, right? Because like I know a lot of people were so hesitant about getting a book from Snow's point of view, especially because especially in this day and age, it's very popular to humanize your villains. And Suzanne basically said, "Oh, I will humanize him, but in a way that makes you realize that there's no saving him."
Yeah,
Right?
like
Like he was always like this, and then everything in his life reinforced this to get him to where he is, and that's who he's gonna be. Right?
he became a
Terrible.
comic book level villain, but he's still human.
Yeah, and that you have to understand that that's what real life is. Like your dictators were once kids and were once people who were trying to figure themselves out and like do all of this other stuff. But they were also people who then made the choices that they made to become the horrible people that they became.
Yeah.
Because I always think it's interesting, not to bring it like I'm not a huge. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm not a huge fan of Aang's stance on a lot of stuff. I can understand it, but the way that show frames, oh, but Ozai was a baby once too. I hate that scene. I hate it. I think it's such a stupid argument. Everybody was a baby once, and so therefore I'm like, yeah, but when you reach adulthood, I don't know if you know this, you make choices. Um, when you're a baby, you don't get to make choices. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when
When you're
people want to
adult
have
and
that
become
argument.
like a genocidal dictator.
Right.
Sorry.
There were consequences to your actions. You know. So I just hate the way that specific scene frames it when they bring out like the baby photo of Ozai. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like
I
there were a
mean,
lot better ways to get us there, but
it is
whatever.
so Aang, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I know people are gonna be like, "But you like Vash," and I'm like, I know he's pacifist 10 billion, but like it's different because they it he is pacifist 10 million. He's like Aang on crack, but He's also responsible for a lot of death. And then on top of that, it's one of those things where the show basically frames it as not necessarily a good thing.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, so it's more interesting. But,
Interesting.
anyways, so the
Anyway.
fact that this one conversation basically justifies, I think, why Ballad is written later down the line.
Yeah.
Because she chooses the route that she does of, oh yeah, I'm going to show you. He's just a person that went through all of these things, but he was then a person who made all of the choices to get where he is today. Right.
100%.
Yeah. Um. Anyways. Okay, so end of Rose Garden scene. A good one. A short one.
Great
I
one.
always thought it was longer for some reason. This
No,
specific one, but it is
Snow says like
pretty
5
short.
lines and then dips.
Yeah. But then we cut back to the arena, and I love this shot of Katniss. She's again not in the middle of the frame. She's up in the upper left-hand corner, which is the same positioning she was in when Rue was taking care of her, when we first get a shot of her with all the leaves after the Tracker Jacker incident, right? So up in the corner, out of frame, almost. And it's interesting because there are two trees in the middle of the frame. So you see like two trees that form what would be like a little window, right? And then Katniss is just to the left of them. She is so knocked off kilter. She's so off center of herself that she's normally you would then maybe frame somebody within those two trees because it still wouldn't have been center of the
Yeah.
shot. It's like a little off center. But no, they have her all the way off in the corner. And she's just sitting there despondently. This is another moment that I'm like, man, Jennifer Lawrence just really sells me in this moment as
Yeah.
Katniss.
Katniss is fully given up. And in the book, she fully gives up. She's like,
Yeah.
she gets food, yeah, because her primary instinct is to survive. But then she like cooks it over the green leave fire that they set a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
smoke signals. So she's just like, find me, careers. Like, I don't care. Kill
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. But this also it feels also like that of a like I don't care, come find me, but in a much less defiant way.
Yeah.
Like similar to when she was talking about Prim in the interviews. In the book, she's filled with like anger, that fuels her, but in the movie, she's really like super vulnerable in that moment. Um, it feels like the same two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
And this is where she's talking about the heaviness infusing her whole body, like liquid lead in her veins. But this is also where we get that line, I told Rue I'd be there for both of us, and somehow that seems even more important than the vow I gave Prim. Um, and then she also is like, she's thinking about Rue, seeing Rue, and then she's also like, and I can't stop thinking about that boy. Like, why do I even care about him? And then she goes, oh, that was my first kill. Um, that's she's like, okay, it was the same mechanics as when I kill an animal, but an entirely different in the aftermath. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. I killed a boy whose name I don't even know. And
Yeah.
like, it's just so well done, I think, here in this moment.
It's brutal. Like the movie gets it a little bit across with her trying to like clean her hands because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a response to her actually killing someone.
Yeah,
Um but I love how the book handles it where she's like, "Oh, like no, I don't know him. I have no idea who that guy was."
yeah. And he killed Rue. So, like, doubly, why do I care? But
Yeah.
I still somehow care, you know? Which sucks. Um,
Yes.
but we cut to a close up of her just staring at nothing. And even when the announcement comes on, she kind of is like, she doesn't react for a second while Claudius Templesmith is saying, attention, tributes, attention. And then when she does react, it's just to turn her head a little bit. And because she turns the motion, a tear falls down her face. And I'm like, oh God, it's so good. It's so good.
Oh,
Um, love it. I hate it because she's so sad, but it's just so well done. Um, and then we get the announcement. The regulations requiring a single victor have been ended. And I love, you know, just how much they like play up on that suspended. So good.
suspended.
You know. And you can literally see the life coming back into Katniss's eyes as she starts like looking around, and you can tell she's being like, hold on. She's like that lady, you know, the math one where it's like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
all the
She's
numbers are
like,
flying around? What's happening? You know? Um, and then from now on, 2 victors may be crowned if both originate from the same district. And now we get the full shot of Katniss, like she's basically like fully back center of frame. And I will say there's a little bit of continuity error here. Her arrows were next to her in the previous shot, and then she's wearing them on her back in this shot.
oops.
um, but that's okay. We'll forgive it. And then he says, this will be the only announcement. And then she's immediately like, oh my God. Okay. All right. And then PETA. And that's it.
PETA.
The end of part 2.
End of part 2. What an
So,
end.
oh my gosh. What an end. Crazy. Suzanne really said we're
Crazy.
going to traumatize you to the maximum potential and then give you just a sliver of hope.
Yep. Guess what? 2 people can make it out. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, don't worry about it. One of the reactor channels that I watch, Real Review HQ, I'll shout them out. Great reaction to the Hunger Games series if anybody wants to watch it. But they have a moment where they're watching this and they're like, oh my God, this is great. This is awesome. And then they go, oh my God, their propaganda just literally got us. We just got so excited that PETA could also potentially be alive and like live through the games with her that we were willing to forgive for a second there. They were like, it worked. God damn it.
Look, the star-crossed lovers. It's good.
Yeah. It's like, and even if you don't buy the star-crossed lovers, you're like, that's so exciting, you know?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh my God. Oh, what a good act. We now have, I like that they resolve the the roof conversation between Peeta and Katniss here. So now she understands him.
Mm-hmm.
But the games continue on, and now we're going to meet up and have some Peeta Katniss time, where
Yes,
they are
we
both
are.
having wildly different conversations to each other.
Oh yeah, continuously for all of time, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also finally the viewers are all caught up, and like we all understand where PETA is now. Of like he did really save her and yada yada. Although they did cut out that scene technically in the movie, it was the deleted scene where she really confirms that. But I think him running up to her, we all know it was real. That he was like run, like because he was trying to save her at that point, and so now we're also like, oh, okay, yeah, we are on the same side. We have to go get him, whatever
Yeah.
side that is, whether there's love, whether it's whatever, we are a team.
Yes. We are District
And
12.
it's,
We are a team. We're
yeah.
going to survive.
And can you believe we have like less than 30 minutes of the movie left?
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Okay.
It's going to wrap up so much faster than we think it is. I mean, not for us, because it's still going to take us forever to get through part 3, but like after Rue's death, yeah, it like feels like a lot happens in that we're going to get PETA, but like also it's going to all happen really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
I'm
yeah,
excited.
I'm excited. We may have to do a script episode after this to catch us up to where we are here because I don't remember what happens in the games very well because I read it so long ago when I first was doing the research on this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and we'll see if maybe there's like any other additional special episodes that we want to do. I haven't thought too much about it between. I honestly just forgot we were coming up at the end of part 2. I was like, no, there's no way. And then we got here so fast. So we'll see if there's anything else that we want to talk about. We'll probably do at least one script episode
I think
to
so.
talk about the beginning of the games. I'm interested to see how they do Rue's death
Yeah. I could see the script of the games following the book
more
more
closely.
closely.
Yeah.
Because the arena's like pretty like not standard, but you know, like it is familiar movie ground
Yeah.
versus setting up a world.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting to see how they handle Rue's death. We do have that bet whether or not Gail's gonna show up in the arena.
Right,
Or
exactly. So who knows? Well, because
who
you know what the
knows?
other thing is, I kept waiting for them to cut back to District 12 to see them again. And we did at the beginning of the games, but I guess we don't get another shot of them until later when she's with PETA. So interesting.
Yeah.
when they choose to drop in those little moments, I think.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because I think they could have intercut like a shot of Prim watching this moment of her bearing Rue essentially, right? But
Oh.
like they don't do that, and I personally think at the end of the day it ends up being a smart choice to not do it. I don't really think we need the reminder, and I think because to me, even though book Katniss is constantly thinking Prim in this moment, and we as the viewers are like associating this with Prim, it's almost like movie Katniss isn't even thinking about her. Like she is so in this moment with Rue and just like stuck in it, right? That it's like Rue is the only one that matters to her in this moment. She's not,
And also it
nothing
gives
else does.
no. And it also gives more Rue more weight. Like she has her own um choices.
Mm-hmm.
She's more of an actual person instead of like a complete stand-in for Prim. She is a full person.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that. But the scene, all of this heartbreaking. I did. I teared up when Jennifer Lawrence is screaming. I do every time. Gets me every time. So yeah. Um I'm excited to get to the next part just so we can get past this. And we're almost there. So we're going to have more special episodes to do at the end of the book that we've been
Oh my
talking about since
gosh.
day one and all kinds of things. So I'm excited.
Very. It's gonna be a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Um, anything else?
I think that's it. I'm glad we got this one over with.
Yeah. Same. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, probably for a part of the script, and then we'll see where we go from there.
See you next time.